Mount Diablo is a great place for people who love plants. Botanists have been making history here for more than 2 centuries, and even today, they're still finding new plants, gradually lengthening the list of species known to science. Here are a few stories about those plant people and the unusual species they've found. Let's start with the Scotsman, David Douglas, for whom the Douglas fir and more than 80 other plants were named. In the 1830s, Douglas was on the west coast of North America collecting plants for England's Royal Horticultural Society. We know that he came to this area because he sent back samples of the Mount Diablo fairy lantern, a species that grows on and around Mount Diablo and nowhere else. The fairy lantern's genus name, Calocortus, means beautiful grass. The single leaf that pokes up first may look like that of a grass, but later the plant's 3 sepals and petals suggest that it's actually in the lily family. At the beginning of the 20th century, a woman botanist was making important discoveries in a world dominated by men. She first surveyed plants in Colorado. In 1893, she moved to San Francisco to document California's botanical riches.
Alice Eastwood, who's curator of the West's most preeminent scientific academy, the California Academy of Sciences. And she's out on the mountain and she's collecting manzanitas for the first time. So Mount Diablo manzanita and Contra Costa manzanita. She was out there collecting those things and describing them first, new to science.
The Mount Diablo manzanita is easy to recognize, with gray-green leaves clasping its stems. The Contra Costa manzanita, on the other hand, has bright green leaves on long petioles.
But then you jump forward in time till the 1970s, and a later successor to Alice Eastwood, who was John Howell, who was a curator of the Cal Academy of Sciences in the 70s, and he was up on Mount Diablo and he found yet another new species, which was a true endemic to Mount Diablo, the Mount Diablo's bird's beak, only known from 1-2 locations on the mountain. Then you throw in David Goen, who is a retired carpenter turned botanical expert, particularly in the phlox family. In 2008, he found a new species of a phlox family member, a Navarretia, that ended up getting named after him because of his keen eye.
All the way from the 19th to the 21st centuries, botanists have been finding plants new to science on and around Mount Diablo. But sometimes plants disappear too. For a long time, that was the story of the Mount Diablo buckwheat. It was first recorded by William Brewer of the California Geological Survey in the 1860s. Save Mount Diablo co-founder Mary Bowerman, who wrote the first book on Mount Diablo flora, recorded seeing the same species in 1936. But then, for 69 years, it seemed to have disappeared. Finding the Mount Diablo buckwheat became a holy grail for local botanists.
The story goes that in 2005 it was rediscovered by Mike Park on Mount Diablo. And that population, since its rediscovery, has only produced maybe up to 50 plants every year. Mike Park always said he was on extinction watch. But doing some work out there for East Bay Regional Park District, we ended up finding a very large population of Mount Diablo buckwheat, on the order of 2 million plants.
That large population was discovered in 2016, not in Mount Diablo State Park, but just northeast in Black Diamond Mines Regional Preserve. For Heath Bartosh and Brian Peterson, it was the find of a lifetime. And for the rest of us, it's evidence that the protected lands on and around Mount Diablo are still big and wild enough to make botanical history.